Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Five Idiots Talking Toys, where five idiots talk about every aspect of toy collecting. There'll be a different episode every week, and we'll talk about a range of topics. And hopefully, we'll have some very special guests join us. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. You guys ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
All right. So what we do here is we talk about toys. And what have you guys gotten into this week? Have you gotten any kind of big collections in? Have you gotten any kind of what's the biggest get of the week for you guys? You guys get anything special this week?
Well, you guys know I've talked about it a couple days ago. I got a collection in probably about 40 something figures in a couple of collector's cases. I was super excited about it just because of the story that was behind it. You know, sometimes you don't always know that the story is going to be accurate, but the story was that somebody came across them, at a relative's house, and they were kind of sitting in storage for however many years it's been, 37, 38 years now. And, they were dusty, dirty, the pictures that I saw, but they looked nice. The paint looked really nice on most of the figures. Especially some of the figures that you can easily pick out, Death Star droid, the droids with the stickers, stuff that you can pick out even in photos, looked really nice. So took a chance, spent a good amount of money, got what I thought was a decent deal. And they got here and they're just amazing. The only thing I can think of is that the story was true. They were opened up for kids to play with, small relatives or whatever, and they were never played with. They were put into these collector's trays and sat collecting dust in a storage spot in the house for all those years. So really tight limbs, awesome paint, just not played with. Like,
are these going to be part of your collection?
Yeah, I would say most of them, because I'm still going to complete my full run, with accessories and everything. I have the figures, but still working on the accessories. I have plenty of figures with rubs on my shelves, and it's just a matter of, that's kind of what I've been into lately, is buying small lots, buying, small collections when I see a few pieces that interest me for my personal collection, and just going through them and swapping out. And every now and then I'll pull a figure off my shelf that is worse than I even thought I had, that now that I've seen many versions of that figure, I can easily replace some. So I'd have a hard time saying most of these are not going to go on my shelf. Just they're too nice to pass up,
Well, we should tell everybody, all of us are collectors, and all of us sell. And so would you guys consider yourselves more sellers or collectors?
I think nowadays I'm more of a seller now than I am a collector. I've been doing it off and on for 20 years. I have everything that I want. There's not much left that I don't have. And the pieces that I don't, they're just so much money. And I would never spend that much on a piece anyway. So
yeah, do you find that, like, being a collector seller, that, like, do you find stuff that you can fund your personal collection with, or do you just do it for extra money? Or
yeah, no, I pretty much just do it just to fund my collection, upgrading pieces and stuff like that. It's not really so much about like extra money. It's more of the fun, to be honest with you. I absolutely just love doing it and making friends over the years in the hobby. People reach out to you and they don't want to, sell on the Facebook groups. They want to PM someone and just do a personal deal that they're friends with and sell it that way. It's easier for them. It's less hassle.
yeah, and they know that it's going to go into somebody's collection that actually cares about the hobby and stuff
that's
like
kind of how I got started into it. It wasn't like I was looking to sell. I just had a lot of people that I guess liked me or trust me, and they felt comfortable and were like, hey, you want to buy my collection and this, and then it kind of just kept going.
Yeah. And something we need to tell the audience too is Chris's brother Charles, who couldn't join us tonight, but he's the fifth idiot when we talk toys. How long have you guys been collecting?
We've both been collecting, I would say, since like the 90s, to be honest with you, off and on. I had a huge collection that I sold in 2009, right before I got divorced. Believe it or not, it was part of the settlement. She had to get half of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I had every mint on card graded. I had the full run, and I'm talking about like all the Power of the Force, Yak Face, the Gamorrean Guard, Nikto, all those hard ones. The only one I never had was
Anakin.
Anakin. I didn't have the Medine tri-logo, which was like, even back then, it was impossible to find. But I had a full run, and I had to sell them. I had to get rid of them. So that definitely hurt.
Yeah, I think I don't know about anybody else, but I've had the same experience where I've had to sell my collection before, and it's not fun. It's not easy, not fun, and especially if you've been collecting since you were a kid. Like I've been collecting since I was a kid, but I only have one figure that's from my original collection. And
yep. Same here.
Yeah. So Brandon, did you find anything this week?
Some, not anything vintage, but I found some of the early 2000s, the Death Star briefing room with the 6 Imperial officers. I found those loose, and those would go on the shelf. Anything new I find, I usually give to the kids to play with. But that was something unique that I picked up this week, that I'll probably hold on to and not play with them too much. But I'm the same way as you, John. I have a couple choice pieces to where I remember getting them as a kid. A Walrus Man and a Biker Scout. Those are the 2 first figures I remember, and a pretty beat up Yoda that I found on a trip to North Carolina. And I actually remember buying it in the 90s. And those, like, I'll keep those figures forever. I could get rid of every figure I have here. None of them mean anything. Those are the ones that mean the most, because I still remember the day I got that Biker Scout. The day that I stole it from my brother. And it's beat up. It's chewed on. It's all discolored, and it's a mess. But those are the figures that I remember growing up. So can't replace those.
Yeah. And
I was born
no, go ahead, Chris.
1982. I had my brother's collection growing up, so I had his leftovers. But I remember, I would say like the early 90s, me and him went to the comic book store and we sold our whole collection.
Wow.
And honestly, I think we got like $150, and we thought we were rich back then.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we sold everything.
Yeah. So Brandon has just recently dipped his toe into the waters of selling. So would you consider yourself a collector, or a collector seller, or a seller, or?
I mainly collect, and I sell to fund the collection, like many of us do. I think I needed to start selling a bunch of stuff because I had, just same thing. I buy a collection here or there, or I'll buy some stuff from, Swap Meet or eBay or something like that, and come across a lot in the last couple of years. I think a lot more people are selling because they want to get rid of the stuff that they have in their garage or their attic or whatnot. So been picking that stuff up, and then I've started to notice that I have, a lot of loose figures laying around that I need to move to fund, other things that I want to buy.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've done with. Oh, and then we lost Chris there. But that's pretty much what I've done recently, is to basically fund the collection and stuff.
I'm a collector at heart, just like everybody else. And whenever I find some piece, and there's still stuff that I buy that, I was like, I'm not selling this. I bought this for myself. And I mainly go for the unique stuff, like the one-offs. If it's an error or whatnot. Like the other day, I bought some figures that they removed all the paint off the C-3POs just so I could see the bare bones of the figure in the plastic, and they're not, anything crazy, but I bought them because they're one-offs and they look pretty cool, and I'm not going to flip that stuff. I'm not going to sell that kind of stuff. And if I have 20 stormtroopers and 5 of them are really nice. I'll probably keep a couple of those, and then I'll sell the rest. But mainly I buy stormtroopers, or I'll buy a figure to get something that looks the best, like Shane does. Like he'll just keep upgrading the collection and seeing what figures are ones that he needs. Like I don't even have a full run. Like I haven't bought an EV yet, or like a yak face. I haven't crossed those waters yet. And if I find a good deal, I'll buy one. But right now I'm just trying to get upgrades to the figures I currently have, and then when I come across one of those really nice figures, I'll pull the trigger on it.
Yeah. So what got you guys started in the collecting world? What about you, Shane? What got you started collecting action figures?
Yeah. So I had I've been saying for my whole life, I had everything. Well, now that we're serious collectors of vintage Star Wars, we all know that nobody had everything. There was just so much. It started small, and then by the second and third movie, there was just a lot of just collectibles and toys out there. But I did really have a lot. My mom, I think, had the same personality that I have now. As a collector, she started buying them, and then she wanted to get them all for me. So she, would get all the different figures, all the different characters. And we're talking Return of the Jedi period. I was like four when the movie came out. But I just have great memories of Christmas opening the Falcon and having a lot of those toys. So it was really just a conversation at work one day with a guy who is like a month older than me. We're the same age, and somehow we got into Star Wars talk, and he was talking about how, he had a lot of the figures and stuff as well. And this is going to kind of trail into another topic that we might cover. It just turned into, well, what was your favorite figure? And mine was, it just popped into my head. I didn't even know what my favorite figure was, but as a 30-something-year-old, I was like, Princess Leia in the Bosch disguise. That was my favorite. And he was like, really? And I said, yeah, because I just remember, I had all these figures, and maybe Lando would kind of fit into this as well. But these one or two figures were in disguise. You had a bounty hunter, and then boom, all of a sudden it was a princess underneath, and just a cool weapon, and just looked really cool. And for whatever reason, just popped into my head in the middle of this conversation. And so I just have it sitting right here because I pulled it out the other night. The first thing I bought was this Leia Bosch disguise Black Series, because right as that conversation was happening at work, I looked it up to try to remind myself what the figure looked like. I hadn't seen it in forever. And that popped up because it was fairly new at the time. And I just said, I can't believe there's a figure of this character that I'm talking about that is as detailed as this is. I just couldn't believe it. I know it was larger scale and everything. I had to have it. So I went online, found it, got it. And that was how I started collecting. And so I did collect the Black Series for about 5 years and intermingled the vintage in there with it. And now I just focus on the vintage. The Black Series just got to be too much for me. It was too much to keep up with. It wasn't as enjoyable as the memories I get from the old stuff.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon? What got you started collecting?
I think it's a disease in my family. I have family members that collect antiques, and pretty much I think I got bit by the collecting bug when I was a kid. I was the type of kid where if I lost like a weapon for a figure, I would tear apart the entire room until I found it. If my figures lost paint for whatever reason, I would take my Sharpie and try to fix it. And then me and my dad, we were collecting figures in the 90s, mostly the vintage ones. And then obviously Power of the Force 2 came out, and, like everybody else, we loaded up on all those. Collected comic books, cards, you name it. We would collect it. We had a collecting room. And, then I got older, high school, college, I didn't collect anymore. And then till, started settling down, go to a swap meet, find some old figures. I'm like, oh, look at this. This reminds me of my childhood. And then after that, I couldn't stop, and then my wife wonders who she married.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of collecting is, finding that attachment that gives you back your youth, or gives you back this kind of like memory that you had, a good, soft, fuzzy memory that you had as a kid of collecting and opening that figure on Christmas Day. I mean, I'm the oldest of the group, and I remember, opening Star Wars toys. We couldn't go to the movies, we couldn't see the Star Wars movies, but we could create our own movies with the Star Wars toys. And I think that was the big draw then, is collecting the figures. And you had to get every one of them because you had to look on the back, and then they had started off with 12, of course, and then they go into The Empire Strikes Back, and then they have 40 something, and then you get into, oh my God, Return of the Jedi has 79 figures. I gotta get them all, Yeah. And I don't think I was ever like a completist kind of collector, but I was definitely a collector because my dad's a collector. He collects all kinds of stuff. And when we moved him out of his house, we were like, oh my God, why do you have this? Why do you have this pile of this? And he goes, well, there's some pretty good artwork in some of those, and I like some of the articles in some of those magazines, but yeah, and a buddy of mine and I started selling toys when we were probably in our early 20s. We'd go to toy shows and set up and stuff, and it's just always been, I love the hustle of selling toys and stuff, and it's definitely not for financial gain, because as a collector seller, there's almost no financial gain in selling toys and flipping toys or whatever, because I mean the overhead is just crazy if you want to try to supply toys to everybody. But yeah, what kind of, now Shane, you said your favorite figure is the Leia Bosch, right? Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
I've always said it wrong.
I hear 3 different ways out there. Some people say Bouche, some people say Bosch, Bausch. I think I looked it up one time. They don't ever say the name in the movie, so there's there's no verification there. But I think there was some expanded universe, something or other, where they officially said her name, and so I think I looked it up at one point, and then I forgot what the official answer was. But that just something that made me think what you said. I started collecting those, and I said to myself, like, when I saw what was out there, and there was maybe like 25 at the time that I started, 25 figures, I said, oh, I'm just going to collect the ones I like, or I'm just going to collect the ones from the OG trilogy, or whatever. And there was already Clone Troopers out early on, and I said, I don't want any of the prequel figures. I don't care about that. So that's how I started. And then the next thing I know, I was like, well, now I've got all these, and I'm just like, what am I, just avoiding collecting like these 8? Like, that's kind of silly. And so very quickly I fell into the completionist category. And so that's why I got to the point where, I mean, these shelves behind me were loaded. They're the length of the wall behind me. They were loaded with nothing but boxes, and all you could see was the sides, right? Like the Black Series, the last run was the black and red. All you saw was a wall of red behind me. I couldn't see the figures. All I saw was red and the black number. And it got to the point where I said to myself, my kids come in here, they can no longer even look at the figures. I'm not enjoying them. I'm just squeezing them onto a shelf. They're starting to get piled on the floor. And it was like, it's an addiction. It's an addiction to get every variant, every number. And so just like you said also, John, you said the hustle, that I was enjoying chasing down the different figures when they were store exclusives and whatnot. But it got to the point where it was just like, okay, I'm just throwing my credit card number around every week in 5 directions to get these exclusives. And I'm not even looking at them. There's just stuff on the shelf. So I had
not even fun.
choice.
It's not fun. You can buy them on Hasbro Pulse or some website. Like, there's no fun in that. I mean, all the fun when I was, growing up, I'm a little too young for the old. I mean, I still remember some of the old figures hanging on the racks for 50 cents. Yeah. But I mainly, when I was a kid growing up, I liked GI Joes, and I still remember going to find GI Joes or finding Batman figures or finding the ones I didn't have, and going to the store, and it's all about the experience. Now it's about the hunt, going in and hunting old figures and tearing apart garage sales and going and uncovering the box of garbage for $1 and seeing what's in there. And if there's anything, 100 times out of 99, there's nothing in the box, but it's the thrill of the hunt, you know. And if you're buying toys online, it's kind of there's nothing to it, you know. Especially like the store exclusives and all that. I mean, the closest thing to that right now is going out and buying something that's not on Hasbro Pulse, like the Boba Fett prototype, you know. You got to go to the store and find it. They're not offering it online unless you want to go on eBay. And now, you know, and the prices are going down, by the way, guys. So, you know, hold out. Yeah. I saw it for 40, then I saw 30. Now I see 28 free shipping. And I'm like, how are these people making any money? And I got people saying, hey, I got a bunch of them at the Target. You want one? I'm like, yeah, I'll pay you the $13 with the shipping, you know? Like, I mean, that's fun, I guess, is looking for some of those figures, you know. You can still go to the store and try to find them. But like Shane was saying, like if you're throwing your credit card 5 different ways online and getting the exclusive whatever, Entertainment Earth or I don't know, you name it, Target, Walgreens, Walmart, you know, like everybody's got an exclusive, and it waters it down. And it's not, I mean, I made a hard decision when I saw these Black Series figures coming out, and I got a couple of them, and I like, you know, one of them, you know, is the Gamorrean Guard. And why did I buy it? Because he's got really nice furry, you know, outfit, and he's like really cool looking. And the other one is Zuckuss, you know, or Forlom, whatever they call it this go around, you know, the droid, not the insect looking guy. So, you know, those are the only ones that I bought, you know, because I think they're pretty cool looking. But the same thing, unless you can't display them on your shelf with the numbers pointed out like everybody has, because then it's no fun. There's no artwork to those either, you know. And that's why I collect, you know, mint on cards, because of the artwork half the time.
Exactly. So who is your focus figure, as they call it in the collecting world, in the hobby world?
So my focus figure, so I try to pick a figure where there's multiple variants of them out there. That way I don't have 25 of, you know, let's see here, like 25 big head Hans, you know, like doesn't do anything for me. I might have 25 of them because I'm trying to find one with a perfect hair, and a perfect shirt. But Little Green Man Yoda is my focus figure right now, mainly because there's different versions of them. I mean, I have probably over 20 Yodas, and each one of them has a different color head, different color eyes, different color limbs.
And a combination of all those things too.
Combinations. The snakes are different shades. A couple brown snakes, a Letty brown snake, a Letty cane. You know, 4 different variations of you know, canes. And I know there's a light brown and a dark brown, but you look at the light brown and there's some that look a little darker than the light ones, and then the really light ones, and the darker ones, and then the one with the EPM on it and the one without the EPM on it. The Lettys with, you know, the snake still has the paint on it, the real tacky paint, you know, and the real deep green. And that's my focus figure, because I can get, you know, find all different variations of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that we may talk about. We'll probably talk about at a later episode, is all the different toy manufacturing factories across the world during this time from 78 to 85. And we're going to have a lot of topics to cover on this series, on this podcast over the weeks. So if you want to join us for that, you know, and Shane mentioned something a little bit ago about having different topics, and we're going to have a different topic every week. So be sure to tune in for that. Chris is back with us.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay. We were just talking about how we got into collecting and all that stuff, and we're talking about now our focus figure. So do you have a focus figure in your collection?
Yeah, so my focus figure is Pruneface. I don't know anyone else that collects him or has him as a focus collector, you know, a focus figure. But I started collecting him about 4 or 5 years ago. I think he's most people think he's like an ugly figure, and I think he's made really well done, to be honest with you. And I think he's very underrated. And Brandon's laughing over there.
Well, we all know, we've been talking about it off the show. We all know that his price has kind of skyrocketed lately. There's some different theories around that, but we've seen him all over the map in the high end.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been stockpiling my prune faces. Those are not for sale regardless anyway. It doesn't matter how much they go up. They won't be for sale. But I have a pretty wide variety of them. You know, some Letties, some Kenner exclusive employee, like mint on cards with the COAs and stuff. I have some rare baggies that are like 1 or 2 known to exist.
Wow.
And
you got that 10 baggie, right? The 10
I got 10 baggie. You know, it's supposedly a KB toy store overstock exclusive where they put it together themselves. I'm going to be sending that in to get graded soon. I still haven't done it.
Oh.
Some Polish bootlegs. Believe it or not, a lot of figures were not made like bootlegs, Polish bootlegs, but for whatever reason, they chose prune face. I still don't understand why. They left a lot of important figures out, but they did choose prune face. Someone liked them, besides for me.
Yeah,
probably because it's easy to make the figure. All you got to do is chew on some bubble gum and then paint some eyes on them.
Put an eye patch.
Stick them on a normal figure, and there's your bootleg.
Well, he's already one of those characters that you're like, why? You know, out of 79, why did they make him in the first place? He's in the background of a single scene,
like Imperial Dignitary.
Well,
yeah.
People thought he was a bad guy. People still think he is a bad guy. People don't know that he's actually a good guy.
I didn't know
People
that.
think he's a bounty hunter for some reason.
Yeah, see, people didn't know that.
I think it's the pirate patch. They think he's a bad guy. They think he's a bounty hunter.
That could be it. Anybody with a pirate patch has to be a bad guy.
But I can see why people are jumping to that figure. He's hard to find with his cloak and with his rifle. He's got one-of-a-kind rifle, one-of-a-kind cloak, and it's hard to find one that's not discolored. I mean, you got to get the green pants that look all the same. You got to get an eye patch that doesn't have any rub on it. You know, it's a hard figure to find like that, you know, and I know we all give Chris a tough time about prune face, but he's one of those ones that I'll collect a bunch of too. I mean, there's some figures I have a hard time letting go of, you know, and Yoda's I have a hard time letting go of, you know, my little Yoda army. And I don't even like Yoda that much in the movie. But I just like the figure, you know, and prune face. I mean, I like the prune face figures too. I actually like the Leia Bosch, whatever you want to call her. I like her because there's different variations of hair, eyes, painted torso, unpainted torso.
That's a good one too.
You know, the really, you know, and I was telling John earlier, I like the really unique stuff that you can't find too much out there, and the different variations of it. There's only like a few figures that I like to collect a bunch of that I have a hard time letting go of, and those are
Blue Snaggletooth is one of them. You have a whole drawer of them.
Well, I like my blue snags. I don't like green snags. I don't like, you know.
Oh, okay.
I don't like my LeBron snags. And that's probably one of the toughest figures to find mint.
Well,
the blue snag. Yeah.
You guys one that I got recently, and I sold it to John, you know, over at Action Figure Grader. This one was mint. He really was nice, and I already had one. I showed him pictures. He fell in love with it instantly. Bought it right away, and sent it in and got graded, and it got an 85+, which for a blue snaggletooth is very high grade.
Yeah. And that's another topic. Maybe, you know, we can find somebody. Maybe our first guest could talk about grading as one of the topics. You know, kind of give everybody a better idea about what grading is, why people grade, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you guys talk about grading, I know amongst this group, the 4 and 5 of us, we all kind of have a different level of experience with grading. I have just none. I mean, I own like 3 graded figures just by the way that my purchases went at one point. But I'm learning stuff from you guys every week about grading.
Brandon,
0.
You have?
Most guys don't like it.
Yeah. I think the only graded figure I have right now that I've sold some graded figures before because I got them. I'm like, I don't know. But is my focus figure.
I was wondering when you were going to talk about your focus figure.
The B-Wing pilot. I thought that was a perfect segue. Yeah. B-Wing pilot is my focus figure. And I don't know why either, man. I was drawn to him. Maybe it's the red, I guess. I don't know. But there's just something about him. I've got a ton of them, and I've got a ton of variants. I've got all the card backs, got a couple Canadian cards. The only one that I don't have that I need I don't need. None of us need this stuff, but the only one that I really, really want is the Letty on
the Regresso.
The Regresso on the card, and I think you need it.
You need it.
That's the last one I need for my collection. Because I got that other one that was in the Biker Scout advertisement.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing special about it other than it was in the photo with the other figures that were used.
That's one thing too that I noticed is you got to pick a figure that, if it's your focus figure, one that you can afford to get the different variations of. Yoda Mint on card, anything but the normal ESB is pretty pricey, so I haven't gone that route to get a Regresso Yoda or I saw one the other day. I don't even know what it was, but it's insane the amount that these figures are going for now. And I can't afford to get a Letty on a card or anything like that. I mean,
even a Canadian card back is going for a lot now too.
Yeah, and I mean, our focus figures for some reason are very high. I'm trying to get my where's my Maydeen? General Maydeen is my next focus figure.
You can build a whole army.
Or a Nikto.
No one wants those.
It's going to be my next focus figure. I need or a Klaatu. I really need that Klaatu focus. I mean, you can't even have FX7 as a focus figure because even that card back goes for a ton of money.
Yeah.
The Palatoy FX7, I think, is the hardest one to find on that one.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Expensive. Yep.
One thing that I discovered with my focus figure, the Leia Bosch again, is I just like the character, right? So that's how the focus came around for me. I like to remember the toy from when I was a kid. And I didn't understand, just like Brandon said earlier, some people have a focus figure and they literally army build with it. I mean, you can call it that, whatever. They just keep buying it to where they have 100 of them. And from the moment I saw people doing that, I said to myself, I can't imagine having 100 Princess Leias. It's a one-off. It's not an army building figure. So it didn't make sense to me. So as I've collected, I'll now come across them and I obviously will just keep the ones that come to me in a lot or something. So I do have, a handful of them now. But one thing that I found kind of a happy coincidence or a happy way that I can collect her is not just to have the vintage figure. I'll get anything for the collection behind me that has that character on it. So I've got modern stuff, Christmas ornaments, some paper things, some a couple of pops. I have the pop that's unmasked. That was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Just anything like that. So it's fun to focus for that character and just get anything I can with her on it. And she's not mainstream enough that there's too much. Like it's manageable,
Yeah, I won't even do that for Yoda. Like I don't collect any of the modern Yodas.
Me neither.
I just like the vintage ones really.
But if you tried to buy anything and everything with Yoda on it, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
Oh, especially
I can scour the internet for anything that had my focus figure on it, and there's a finite number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A question about Leia
Bosch. Go that route.
Since you collect her, do you have a lot of trouble finding them with paint rubs on her hair? Because I feel like most of those kids would take the helmet on and off all the time.
You get rubs on the front, like on just above the forehead the most. And it's interesting to me because the helmet is a softer rubber, right? So you wouldn't think that it would rub the paint so harshly, but as a kid, if you get ones that were played with, that's the whole fun of that figure, right? Is that you can
course,
disguise
yeah.
it. So you're putting that helmet on and off, a million times. But that's the main thing is her hair, right? Her hair, and then the helmet also. The helmet, the metallic gray on the top of the helmet, because it's molded in orange rubber. To find a nice helmet is hard sometimes too, because all the corners get rubbed. Let's talk maybe for a minute or so before we wrap it up about what people can expect in the next handful of episodes. What will be some of the topics?
Yeah, we've got a list of topics that we're going to be talking about in this podcast, and hopefully everybody will tune in for some of these. And for collectors and non-collectors alike, we're going to be talking about variants, because there's all we kind of touched on that tonight. There's all kinds of variants for almost every figure, it seems like. We'll talk about reproduction, what reproduction weapons are like, why they were reproduced, and the pros and the cons of those. Because some collectors like to collect figures with repro weapons, and that's their thing. But most of us, I don't think any of us would like to have a repro weapon in their collection. We'll talk about bootlegs, which is different than repro, and we'll talk about that too. And there's all kinds of stuff. Restaurant tie-ins, going to toy shows, doing live sales, going to conventions, and tips and stuff for, we're going to have a segment every week about what to look for when you're buying a figure, as far as condition and stuff of the figure. We're going to talk about grading, and hopefully, I think our first full episode, this is just kind of like an introduction to what we're going to be doing in this podcast, and an introduction to us and our collections and the knowledge of our collecting. Our first full-length episode is going to be focused on grading, I think, is what we've come to as the consensus for the first episode. And we're going to have a special guest, hopefully, talking about grading and what it means to grade, what the grades mean, how to get a good grade on some of your figures. I mean, there's really nothing you can do, but what figures can get a good grade, and what to look for if you're going to send it in to get graded. But yeah, those are some of the topics that we're going to be talking about on here. And so I think we're at a pretty good point to wrap this one up for the week. We kind of talked about our own personal collections and what we like to collect, and what our focus is and all that, and you got to know us a little bit better. But if you joined us tonight, thank you for joining us, and look for the next episode next week. These are hopefully going to drop on Sundays, and we'll have a different topic every week, and hopefully line up a different guest every week to kind of walk us through our topic and give us some outside knowledge and some outside information, stuff that we may not be fully knowledgeable about. But again, thanks for joining us, and I think what do you think, guys? Is that a good point to wrap it up?
It's good.
I'll wrap it up.
So I'm John.
Chris.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Shane.
And we're 4 of the 5 idiots talking toys. Hopefully the 5th idiot will be with us next week. He's on vacation this week and probably doesn't have very good signal. But again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
We're one idiot short of a group of morons.
One idiot short of a group of morons. Thanks again.
All right. Good night, all.